Howdy, I'm Matt, and do you have a spare 30 quid or $30 for a long-range transmitter and receiver system? I'm pretty sure most of us do, and that's exactly what FrSky are offering right now, today, is that you can buy the R9M module, which includes an antenna and a micro receiver, for either £30 from Team 9 Hobby Sport here in the United Kingdom, or from the Horus site for $29 US. Now, those of you which are looking for a stepping stone into long-range systems, you would be absolutely crazy not to seriously consider the FrSky R9M kit, because it has just suddenly become so cheap. Now, to be honest with you, I'm over there actually editing the video, because you'll notice this episode's about 30 minutes long-ish. And we are going to have a really good discussion about the background to why FrSky dropped their panties on the price, and we also have a chit-chat in comparison to the TBS kit. Now, those of you which watched the video on the UHF, like the why I went for TBS and stuff like that, you're going to find this really, really interesting. So those of you which are asking me, and I know because I've been asked like a million times already in the Facebook group, Matt, if you've already got the TBS kit, why are you buying the R9 kit? My answer to you is simply 30 quid! Nuts. It really has just opened the doors to the wider community, because you can buy the TBS module, which is very similar to this, and a receiver as a bundle for £130. FrSky have just made entry-level long-range systems for literally 1/3 or less of the cost compared to TBS. So that's what this video is about, is that if you just don't want to hold back, like I said, I put links in the video description. They are not affiliate links, they're just links to all the information which is covered in this video. And like I said, if the offer's over, please don't shoot the messenger, but we will do a little unboxing of this, and we are going to have a really good chit chat here at the desk about long range in general and FrSky, and a couple of, I'm going to include, well, I've included as many tips as possible for you, and of course we will get along to the flight line in the very near future and try this out for real. And by the way, as I note in the later part, this R9 kit, it's already well proven. It's been out for several months, so it's proven, it works, and it's super cheap compared to that stuff. So anyway, if that puts your interest, hang around. We're about to do the unboxing, and we'll have a good old chit chat about the FrSky R9M kit. Howdy, it's Matt, and Christmas, children, has come early. And there's a person out there which I do believe we all need to say thank you to, and that's Mr. Trappy. Now, what am I talking about? Just turned up this morning in the mail. You seen one of these before? I haven't until today. In fact, this is the module which I personally dismissed. This is the R9M system from FrSky. Let's open the box and take a quick look. Ta-da-da! Oh, hang on. Sorry, let's do that again. Ta-da-da! Look at that! And do you know what the kicker is? It cost me 30 quid plus postage from T9 Hobby Sport. Oh, crazy. So if you didn't know, so those of you who should just joined us, okay, and don't know what R9 is, okay, R9 is FrSky's long-range receiver and transmitter system. Okay, it's the system which I made a comment about a couple of videos ago, like a month, maybe two, maybe a bit longer than that actually. I'll put links to that video in the top right hand corner, and I completely dismissed FrSky and the R9 receivers and transmitters, the transmitter and receivers, because they'd screwed up their original launch. Since then, they've been and sorted out their receivers and their transmitters and stuff, because basically they were shipped out the wrong antennas, so that if you actually used it, it burnt stuff out. So it wasn't very good, and I ruled FrSky and the R9 stuff out of the equation. And then went on, and I'll get it in a minute from the flight bag, I then went on to buy the really expensive 2-watt module, which is just currently sat on the back of my FrSky Tyrannus. And to be honest, I did a video on this, like I said, I'll put a link in the top right corner. I was very, very worried about the iPhone effect, aka I'd spent 200 quid on it, minimum, 200 quid just for the transmitter module, and then each little receiver is 40 quid, and then the diversity one, which I've got sat in the mini Talon, was 100 quid. So I was fully aware that I was 400 quid in. I'm very scared of this iPhone effect, which is that people go out and spend a stupid amount of money on a phone, and then realise to themselves that it's not actually that good, or they say to themselves, well, I spent this much money on it, it must be really good. And anyway, that's the iPhone effect. So I've been very careful of that. And to be honest, I am genuinely impressed with the TBS Crossfire kit. Okay, so I need to put that in right at the beginning. But going winding back is that, Matt, why are you sat here with the R9MM module from FrSky? And the reason why I'm sat here with this, and it's probably going to be you very shortly as well, is because this literally cost me 30 quid plus postage. Now, if you're in the United Kingdom, there's a website called T9 Hobby Sport. I'm no way at all affiliated with them. I have bought from them before several times. They're very reliable. But they have got these on offer for £30, so that's the transmitter module, up to 500 milliwatts, and a receiver for 30 quid plus postage. Okay. You can also buy this directly from the FrSky website, Horus.com, and they're selling it for $30 with free shipping, okay, although I did message them and they came back with a useless answer, and it was a bit of a joke, so I didn't end up buying from Horus.com. I bought from T9 Hobby Sport because I was just not impressed by them, to be honest. And if Horus, if you're watching that, Matthew Ogborn the name is, and you can see in my chat, your reply was useless. So anyway, coming back onto point, is that, yeah, you can either pick this up for $30 or £30, depending where you are in the world, assuming they're still in stock over with FrSky, which I'm assuming they are. Now, sorry, I just thought something out there. So why am I sat in this? Yeah, and why did this all happen? Now, I know that I'm going to muller the details on this, so what I'm going to do, I'll put a link to the thread on Reddit so that you can have a read what's going on. As far as, and again, I might be wrong, but as far as my reading went, basically, Trappy sent an email to all the distributors saying that you either stock our kit or the FrSky kit. Okay, you couldn't have it both ways. Basically, I'm not going to mention what other people have said, but that's the very polite version. Okay, so somebody threw their toys out the pram and gave distributors an ultimatum: you can either stock our TBS kit, TBS products, or you can stock FrSky. Okay, we'll stop supplying you. That's basically what the guy said. And it then went all off. Okay, it all kicked off. And I think basically FrSky have just stuck two fingers up at TBS and said, well, up yours, and then just smashed the price to the floor on their R9 kit. So anybody who's got an ounce of common sense out there will have been and picked up one of these R9 modules, and that's why I've got it on my desk. It was 30 quid plus shipping. 30 quid compared to 100 quid plus minimum from TBS. It's a third of the price, at least 1/3 of the cost. So and in the Facebook group, I've seen people posting these pretty much every single day. Mine's been and arrived. Of course, I don't need it. But I ordered it because it was only 30 quid. And we'll give it a little mini review. This is why we're having this video right now. So those of you which are completely sold on this, long range, literally long range kit for 30 quid or $30, I'll put links to what I know about in the video description underneath this video, so click on show more. There'll be a link to the Horus website there, because there is not only the JR module, which can go in the back of a Tyrannos or another model transmitter. There was also the R9 Lite, which I originally saw for their little X-Lite useless little just transmitter. And also I'll put a link in there to T9 Hobby Sport as well, because that's where I bought mine. Okay, like remember, this was bought out of my own money for my own abuses. This was not a freebie for a review. Always keep that in the back of your mind. So anyway, let's get in here and have a look. First off, and again, you can see that I haven't been in here yet because I've not had a chance to open this stuff up. What have we got here? We have got, so this is very, very similar, and I'll get myself zoomed in now. This is very similar to the, oh, of course it's going to be similar, Matt, because we're all talking about exactly the same frequencies. With the TBS kit, it was either 900 megahertz or 868 megahertz if you're in the UK, which I am in the UK, so this will be set up for 800, because it's set on the module. It will be 868 megahertz, which is exactly what you want if you're in the UK, because we still have the mobile phone network, which runs off 900 megahertz, and you'll get interference. Okay, so those of you buying, oh, a little note for you as well, those of you which end up buying the international version, don't panic, you can reflash it with the EU version, so you're at 868 megahertz. Okay, so just like, get back to my point to this antenna, it's pretty much identical, little nodules on either side, that what you get with the TBS receivers. Okay, now this little receiver here is exactly the same size as the, in fact, why don't I show you? Just give me one moment and I'll go and get my Nano Talon. I'll do a like for like comparison. Here we go, I'm back. Right, this is my Nano Talon. Oh, I love the Nano Talon. I think they're bringing them out of V2 very shortly as well. Corking little model. Anyway, let me open this up. Okay, and in here, I can do this like by like, okay, is that what we've got, and it's a bit awkward because it's wrapped round, I'll tell you what, I'll zoom in instead. There we go, let's zoom ourselves in, is that what we've got just there is the TBS micro receiver, and you'll see that this one is, we'll say half the size, but don't put, size isn't everything, because TBS also do a nano receiver, and this is basically exactly the same size. But those of you which are using TBS and use the micro receivers like me, you'll see that it's basically about half the size. Okay, so that's been set up on my Nano Talon. Now, one little note here is that you'll see, or you can actually see, zoom back out, there we go, is that I've got an antenna there, okay, which is, can I pull this out? Yes. Oh, whoops. Matt's been in at the bottom off that. I'll put some stuff on that in a minute. That's the bottom of my Nano Talon. This is the Immortal antenna, and that's the antennas which I'm going to be upgrading my this R9M receivers up to, assuming that I go and buy another one as well, because these antennas are absolutely fantastic. They were actually designed by the, what's his name, the bloke from IB Crazy. So the guy definitely knows his stuff, and those antennas are really, really good. They're nice and strong. They're also got springs still in them, so they twang back to their vertical position, as the case may be, or whatever position you've been and lined them up in. So yeah, the little R9M receiver is half the size of a micro, but then probably about the same size as a nano receiver. I'd probably say about 2 centimeters by 1 centimeter. Now, it did come in the bag. It did come with 2 sets of connectors on there. I have no idea on the pinout. Literally, this box has been and turned up with me this morning. So I tell you what, there we go. Let me just put that right down on there. I'm going to put my finger in there just for scale, 2 centimeters by 1, and we did get this little bag with 2 sets of pinouts on there. Not entirely sure what we got there. I'll tell you what, why don't we look in the manual? I want to take a quick note. We have, oh, that's pretty cool. There's the pinout for the receiver. So why I'm saying that was pretty cool, because you've got channel 1, 2, 3 and 4 there. Okay, and then on the end you've got S bus out, which is happy days. That's probably what we're all after. Okay, then we've got S port or F port, so that's the telemetry one. You've got ground V in, which will be 5 volts, and then an inverted S port option as well. So that basically covers all the bases when it comes to flight controllers. So happy days on that one. What else have they got on there? If you've got telemetry enabled on here, in fact, let me zoom back in again. Apologies for zooming in and out, just so that you can read that. So if you have telemetry, you either have 4 or 8 channels, okay, or you can have no telemetry, 4 and 16 channels, which is happy days. And of course, I'm only looking at, excuse me, the EU version, okay. And it says, yeah, operating current 100 milliamps, so it's going to be absolutely no difference to pretty much anything, unless you're doing a very, very low power device. or build. Operating voltage range, that's quite good. 3.5 volts all the way up to 10 volts. So potentially you could power this from a 2S battery, because that'll only get up to 8 point something volts if fully charged. So yeah, you would be absolutely fine, according to their documentation here, that you would be right to power this up by 2S. That's great. Brilliant. All in that tiny little thing down here. That's just nuts. Anyway, so that's about the receiver. Let's move that out of the way. Let's move on now to the transmitter module. And like I said, this is literally what's been turned up with me this morning. I've just hit record. And like I said, with that previous discussion, I'll include everything which I've discussed here as links down in the video description for you. One thing which I also did is that I looked up to see how much these receivers were, because remember, the TBS Crossfire micro receivers are 40 quid. I looked up on Banggood and a couple of other sites, so you're talking 10 to maybe 15 quid for very similar receivers. And also FrSky have a whole range of R9 receivers with their top receiver, which I can't remember the exact part number. Again, I'll put a link to that in the video description to the FrSky website. Their top receiver, which is about 40 quid, give or take a couple of quid either way, is that it was comparable to the top, TBS receiver. And the top TBS receiver, the one with the dual diversity on it, is 100 quid, okay? And then the R9 version is 40 quid. So yeah, considerably cheaper. Now, I'm not going to go into features and functionalities, but if you look at the core features, which is a long range receiver, it obviously ignoring some of the the CRSF stuff, which it has been noted by other far more technical people than me, whether it's questionable on how much of an advantage or speed advantage you actually get in the real world. But it does have, and of course with the more expensive TBS receiver, that does have a battery in there, so you can locate your model and things like that. But like I said, like for like, what it does for your model is that it's just a receiver. Okay. So anyway, coming back to my point, we've got the little receiver in here. We'll take a nose at this one. So this goes in the back out of your transmitter. Now, like I said, there was there was a mini version for the X Lite transmitter. Okay. Now, looking at this, we'll have a quick wander around. On the left-hand side, or on the top, we've got the antenna, and of course, we never, ever, ever power this module on without an antenna on the top. Okay, can I just make a point on there, because it's so important, you could ruin your module, okay, is that you'll see that I've got my Tyrannus here, I've got my TBS Crossfire on the back, okay, and I've specifically set this up so that when I put this down, in my transmitter box, okay, is that I put it in a hole and then I put the two foam pieces on top. I never, ever, ever undo the antenna and take it off. Okay, because if you run a transmitter with no antenna on it, chances are you're going to ruin it. Okay, so don't do that. Just word of caution on that one. So we'll put that one back to one side. Anyway, get back to this module. Antenna on the top. Now, they have been and provided a big dipole antenna on top. Whether I can use that is very much questionable, if I'm honest. A, because it's quite bulky. B, is because that won't fit in my flight bag, okay, in my flight box. And it would just be awkward, and it means I need to take it off. So to be honest, what I'll end up doing is that this antenna, which I've got here for my Crossfire, I will take that off, cover the port on the top with one of those little rubber things to keep the connector clear, and I'll use one of the Immortal antennas as well. Now, you can buy those Immortal antennas from a collection of places, just look up on the intervals for those. So that's what I'm going to do on mine, but again, just for clarity, for the beginning couple of uses, I'll just use their dipole antenna, and I won't change the antenna on the receiver either, because that's more like real world what you might do, but it might just be 100% aware. For an extra 10 quid or 15 quid, I will get an Immortal antenna like that for the transmitter, and I will get one for the receiver as well. Okay, assuming that I continue to use it and everything is hunky-dory, which I assume it will be. Right, anyway, let's have a look at what we've got here. So we've got the antenna on the top. I'm going to take that off because it's quite bulky, but I'll use it as a pointy doodah. Let's get ourselves zoomed in. Now, I am going to cheat. I am going to look at the photo underneath because, like I said, this really just did turn up today. We've got the antenna on the top. I also like it because it's outside it's backwards, so when it goes on the back of the transmitter, is that it's pointing out, it's away from the back of the transmitter module, which is exactly what I did with my original orange 433 transmitter modules. Is I 3D printed a special little case on the back, just like that, and it works really, really well. Anyway, getting back onto the topic, we have smart port connections on the inside. That is for the FrSky stuff like the GPS unit, the current sensor, the variometer, and things like that. And again, I assume in smart port would only really be any use to you if you're only using it in the 25 milliwatt mode rather than doing for proper distance on it, because you don't get the telemetry back in anything higher than 25 milliwatts, as I was reading here the other day. Was that right? Yeah. Might be wrong on that one, I will check in a moment. Anyway, you've got an RS232 serial port down there, so that's how those pins which are on the left, let me put this right up, so you've got two set of pins. The ones on the inside, that's for your S port, the ones on the outside are for communicating with this device, so that if you want to upgrade the software or something like that. That's actually really handy. I remember on the orange 433 kit, you had to take the cover off to get in there to get to the pins. Well, because mine was a 3D printed one, so I had to take it off each time to tweak the settings. Quite annoying. You've got switch 1 and switch 2, which I genuinely do not know what they do. We'll have a read of the manual in a moment's time. We've got a function button down here, and we've also got, I presume that's a power light as well, and we also have an XT30 connector on the back as well. Now that is actually a very, very good feature which I really like to see on the back of this module, because I use the XT30 connector, well, XT30 to an XT60, and I run a FrSky battery pack on the back of my Tyrannus currently, so that it saves the battery, the Lifey battery which I'm using in here, so I can run this module with an external battery, and I save my main transmitter battery. So that's exactly something which I'll be continuing to do on this one. Now just be aware, there's plenty of warnings in the documentation from FrSky about using FrSky batteries with this. While you can connect up an external FrSky battery, it's not advised. Okay, so if you're going to connect up to this one, use a 2S battery. That is what they suggest to connect that up to. And of course, all I've done for mine with the TBS module is, if I unplug that, all I've been and made up is an XT30 to XT60 connector. By the way, those of you which don't have soldering irons, you can buy these little things from a collection of places, and then I'll just take mine out, plug that in the back, and then I can connect up a little 2S battery pack on there, probably a 1000 milliampere, so it's not going to add much weight to the back of the transmitter, and we're away. So I'm going to unplug that now and pop that to one side, and that's it. We've got the standard clips on the back. So I tell you what, let's get this one unscrewed off the what should we call it, off the Tyrannus, and we'll go and plug this one in. This is the first time this module's been off since I've bought it. So yeah, let's put the crossfire unit to one side. So to be honest, is that we all should be very thankful to Mr. Trappy over at TBS for really chucking his toys out the pram and then backpedaling loads. Again, that's my personal opinion from what I've been and read from the forums and the posts on Reddit about this, yeah, he's done us all a favour, because the FrSky basically literally just said up yours and dropped their pants on the R9 kit, which is great, because there was no way I was going to buy this kit, the R9 kit, just because of previous things which were mentioned. But now it's come down in price, like hell yeah. I'm going to go for it. So yeah, fits in there nice and well. You can see that where we would have the XT30 connector there on the back, that's also going to, it fits with one of these external, what do we call it, brackets. By the way, these are great, absolutely fantastic. I bought it for a tenner off eBay. It's made out of aluminium. Yes, it does add a little bit of weight to it, and it does make it a little bit awkward, but it does protect the back of the transmitter, especially if you've got an expensive £200 module on the back. And of course, you might have an expensive £30 module on the back as well, you know? Happy freaking days. So it does protect that, and it's also, I'm surprised I haven't done it more often, because it's great here on the desk, it stands up, also great on the flight line as well, the back don't get sopping wet in the wet soil, etc, etc. Right, coming back to it, love the little stand, we need to get back to this R9 module. So yeah, thank you Mr. TBS for doing us all a favour, because yeah, brilliant. Now, I need to go and quickly read what those little switches do on the back on there on here, and yeah, I was right. Yeah, telemetry 25 milliwatts, no telemetry when you set it to 500 milliwatts and 200 milliwatts. Now the range on these is also very, very curious as well. So I say what, I'm just gonna have a read of the manual, and I'll be back to you by the magic of video editing now.
2 hours later.
Aha! There we go! Right, I've got it. Let me put this down on the desk and we'll zoom into it so you can read the manual as well. Of course, you could download the manual from the FrSky site too. So what it's saying here about these little switches, so what I'm talking about is on the back of the module, there are 2 switches just here on the back. So currently switch 1 is down and switch 2 is up. Okay, so those little switches just there on the back. So what does that mean? So switch 1 is off. Okay, and switch 2 is on. So that means that we are in telemetry mode, 25 milliwatts, 8 channel output, and the LED blink should just blink once green. Okay, now if switch 1 was off and switch 2 was off, we would be in telemetry mode, 25 milliwatts, but 16 channel output, and that would blink twice in green. Kind of making sense? Really it's really straightforward on this one. And then to be honest, what we're all probably going to end up doing, obviously if you're in the United Kingdom and you would need to check your local laws, that you should only be using 25 milliwatts, and you would never ever think of turning switch number 1 on and then switch number 2 off. So yeah, you would not be doing you would not be turning switch number 1 on and switch number 2 off, like so, on there, because that would then give you the full 500 milliwatts of transmission power. Now on to a very serious point. If you are just mucking around in your office or at your workbench, in your garage, wherever you're working, etc, etc, you only want it set at 25 milliwatts, okay? Which is one point which I'm just going to pick up here, is because those are manual settings, there's no auto switching. One thing which I really, really do like about the TBS kit is that it just sorts out its own range, its power settings, okay? It will go from 10 to 25 milliwatts, of course, because you have to stay legal here in the UK, but you can set these so that if you've got an external power support source on them, is that it will go all the way up to 2 watts in this case for this one, or 500 milliwatts if it's without a battery connector connected to the bottom. Okay, so yeah, if you did set it as being on the switch number 1 on and switch number 2 off, that would give you the no telemetry mode, and that would be 500 milliwatts, and that would blink 3 times green and red. Brilliant, that's happy days.
Howdy. Now I'm adding this little extra bit in because things have been and changed, and I want to say a big thanks up to everybody in the Facebook group, because they pointed out that for the R9 system there is something called 900 megahertz flex firmware. Okay, and what this gives us is the optional power, whereas before we had, what was it, 25, 100 and 500 milliwatts of power. Now you get the options of having 10, 100, 500 and a new mode. Well, the 10 milliwatts is a new mode, but the new mode of 1 watt as well, with telemetry being supported for all power levels. So that is a massive upgrade as well. 16 channels for all levels, and then crucially, and this is the bit which sold it for me, is adaptive power for 1 watt only, which is absolutely fantastic. That means is that, I'm assuming that's what that means, is that the module will switch all the way down to 10 milliwatts because of the telemetry, and then up to 100 if it needs to, and then to 500 all the way up to 1 watt if it's required due to the telemetry feature. So I thought that was fantastic. Now you may be wondering, Matt, where can I get that for my receiver? And the answer is that look up the R9M on the products on the FrSky site, click on the support tab. Now it's hiding. I originally looked here in the firmware tab going like, where is it? It says add. There's some improved features here which came out in June, July, and improved performance, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, where's this Flex firmware? And actually, it's hiding down the bottom of the page underneath its own little section called Flex firmware. And then you'll see there's the notes in there, optional power, which you've got on there, telemetry supported for all power levels, up to 1 watt. Now, there is a note down here, which is actually a stumbling point for me because I'm actually using OpenTX version 2.1.8 on mine, and I'm very, very reluctant to upgrade it. And down at the bottom it says, to enable this function, please upgrade the firmware of your receiver, module, and transmitter operating system to OpenTX 2.3. So that's probably the latest version, so I may just swallow the bullet on this one and go and upgrade my TX module. So I'll make sure I do a backup first. Not something which I've tried just yet, but I thought it was really, really important to, because we were just talking about adaptive power setting, something which I really, really liked in the TBS Crossfire kit. And by the looks of it, it is now available with the Flex firmware for the R9M modules, which is obviously happy days. Anyway, let's get back to looking at this unit because it is super cool.
Now, there is a little bit of fun when it comes to the binding of these receivers. It's not something which I have been and done yet, so look out for a later video when I do a full-blown proper review of this, when we've got it in a model and we take it in the sky and see how it does. But just be aware, this thing should go for miles, okay? Even on 25 milliwatts, okay, there are videos on YouTube of, even on 10 milliwatts, okay, and I need to get that right. Look up on YouTube, there are people doing stupid distances with only 10 milliwatts. There's like considerably more distance with people doing with 25 milliwatts. So to be honest, when it arrived, it was set with, what was it, switch number 1 was off and switch number 2 was on. That was telemetry mode 25 milliwatts. That's going to be fine for pretty much all of you flying line of sight or doing a little bit of FPV in and around the trees. Those of you which wanted to push the boundaries, you could crank yours up on the flight line, of course, all the way up to 500 or half a watt, which is crazy. And by the way, mildly illegal here in the United Kingdom, but hey ho, you would obviously need to check your local laws. So it's time for me to wrap up. I cannot, and I don't think you cannot go without saying a big thank you to Mr. Trappy and again, this is I'm just using the information which I've read online. Do your own research. Like I said, I'll include a couple of links, and I'll definitely include the links to these modules while they're still available. And please don't, if you're watching this video at Christmas and they still don't have them on offer, please don't shoot the messenger, you know. It is what it is. It's literally right now in September, they are just on offer from FrSky because, like I said, they've just set up yours to TBS and just dropped their panties on the price of the R9 kit. So well done, FrSky, and well done, Mr. Trappy as well. You've literally done those of us, well, those pilots which are on a budget and couldn't afford the premium products. Okay, and like I said, I am very, very happy with my TBS kit. I will not, well, I can't second guess the future, but right now, I'm quite heavily invested in with the TBS kit. I've got this module which was 200 quid. I've got a collection of receivers as well. I've got a collection of models already set up to use the TBS kit, and I'm very satisfied with the TBS kit. Remember, that was bought out of my own money. We're not talking about freebies here, which you are almost compelled to say that. But on the flip side, big thumbs up. Well done, FrSky. Well done, you know who, because because of those circumstances, we have now all been provided low cost, excellent value for money, long range kit, which is, dare I say it, and I know I'm pointing to the more expensive module. The cheaper, the other one of this is 100 quid, just the little module which goes on the back. It is a fraction, 30% of the price of the nearest TBS kit. Okay, 30% the cost of the TBS. Okay, for going for the other module which you can get. I think that's just fantastic value for money. So those of you which are looking for a long range system, and by the way, I will go and we'll get it out of the flight line, we'll test it, etc, etc, and I'm sure it'll be perfectly fine. Okay, I've seen enough videos now on the R9 kit to know that it's going to work and it's going to be great. Okay, I don't think it doesn't offer all the features and functionality, especially what the TBS modules do, like the auto switching the power and things like that. And let's face it, if that's on the back of the transmitter and you want to click up to, because you've lost a bit of signal and you've got to go on the back and click those little switches, what a pain in the arse. And also the binding in the receivers is a bit of a pain, I know that, but the documentation's here, you just basically read the manual, you know. So yeah, I will do some video footage on this. We will do like a review on the flight line and see it working, etc, etc. Just mucking around with some trees, keeping it legal and everything, you know. But on a serious point, you would be crazy not to spend 30 quid on this, or $30, because, and those of you which are looking for a long range kit, because like I said, it's 30% the cost of the nearest TBS module, okay, and like I said, it's missing a couple of features, okay, but for all intents and purposes, and I know I'm dumbing this down, that does pretty much exactly the same as the £100 module of that, and that's those of you which want to get into long range. And by the way, I know there's going to be some TBS fanboys going here going, Matt, he doesn't see RSF, he doesn't do that. I know what you're going to say, but we're not talking about you. We're talking about those which want to do some range and don't have deep pockets and can't afford to flop out 100 quid and then 40 quid a receiver. We're talking 30 quid with a receiver which is ultra lightweight. They can get started on a budget. It even included the antenna as well, a budget of 30 quid. Okay, and like I said, I had a look online. These receivers are anywhere between 10 to 14 quid thereabouts. Okay, online there's better receivers out there as well. There's better antennas and things like that. But if we ignore the upgrades, okay, and keep it really, really simple, like for like, they do exactly the same thing. Granted that, again, I'm not going to get into the technical details because that one's a 2-watt module, not the £100, 500 milliwatt module. But for all intents and purposes, they do exactly the same thing. But the FrSky R9 kit, which is in this promotion, is 1/3 of the cost. This has just opened up the possibilities for the average pilot. Doors wide open. Like I said, I'll put links to everything which I've discussed down in the video description, including the T9 Hobby Sport site where I bought this from for 30 quid plus postage. I'll include links to the Horus website where they had it up for $30. I'll include links to the Reddit thread which I put in there as well. And also, just for a complete roundness, at the end of this video, I'll put up a link to my unboxing and a whole discussion about UHF transmitters and receivers as well. I think you'll find that video very, very interesting, so look out for that at the end of this video. And look out for that comment about the R9 kit from FrSky. I originally discounted this because when it was first released, which was many, many moons ago, they screwed up and sent out 5.8 antennas on it rather than the right antennas, so people were burning out their modules. So that wasn't even in the ring for me, okay, because of that screw up. Now, many months on, we can clearly see they've been included the correct antenna for this module. And for 30 quid, nobody in their right minds can argue that this isn't like the best long-range starter kit there is out there and probably will be out there for the near future. So, with that said, I want to say a massive thank you to you for taking the time to watch this episode. If you've enjoyed this chit-chat about the R9 module, remember it's 30 quid. It's bonkers. Do me a favour, hit the thumbs up underneath this video. If you have any questions or comments about this kit, down in the comments section underneath this video. If you've got specific questions about general usability and things like that, don't forget there is a Facebook group for this YouTube channel. It's called Rag the Nuts Off. There's a link to that down in the video description. Hit the join request or join button in the top right corner, and one of us will pick up your response as soon as we can. Okay, so and the reason why you'd want to do that is because we've got a Facebook group of 2,800 plus cool pilots like me and you in there, and you don't have to take my word for it on this kit. You can literally chuck a question in there, and there are some really, really nice people in there. So I don't mean to big up the Facebook group, but if you want to take more than my word for this, then the answers are over there in the Facebook group, and it's called Ragnar Nuts Off, and there's a linky in the doobly-doo. So with that said, from myself, Matt, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video, and I'll see you again shortly. And of course, if you're new here, my name's Matt. What's your name? Let me know, comment section underneath this video, and don't forget to press the subscribe button, because the next video which comes out could be out on the flight line, giving this a punt, because 30 quid, you can't go wrong. Anyway, from myself, Matt, cheerios!